All right. Welcome, folks, to the Vancouver Asian Film Festival 24th year. Thank you for tuning with us, Filmmakers Talk, Canadian Short, Life and Death. My name is Sidartha Murjani. I'm one of the VAFF programmers and a local filmmaker. Right now with me, we are star-studded. We have Mayumi Yoshida and Diana Bang, the directors for In Loving Memory. Mayumi and Diana, thank you for joining us. Now, Mayumi is, of course, well known for in the Vancouver crowd. Got nominated for Best Emerging Actor at UBCP Awards for her role in Crown Princess and Man in the High Castle. And Diana also got nominated for a Leo Award in 2017 for Best Lead Performance by a Female in Entangled. Yay!
Yay!
All right. So first question: both of you started off in acting and then became directors. What was their? Why did you do that, and what made you do that?
You go first.
Okay. It came from necessity for me. The very first thing that I directed was I had written the story, and I was going to be bilingual, and also was a personal story. So I was looking for a Japanese filmmaker, actor, mainly writer director. But I didn't, at that point in my career, I didn't know anybody. So yeah, it came from necessity. It was like, okay, well, I'll have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise for me too. It's like, I think, so my sister and I wrote a short film, and we were specifically we're like, oh, it'd be nice if we could get a Korean, female director. And we were asking around and asking people who they knew. And then eventually one of our producers, Theo Kim, was like, why don't you guys do it? And we're like, no, what are you talking about? And they were like, wait a second, maybe. I mean, we wrote it. So so then, again, like Mayumi, out of necessity, we're like, let's do it. And then I guess we're directing more stuff now.
Yeah. So I guess when you directed In Loving Memory for both of you, because usually you would think a director will want things their way, but this film, both of you directed. So can you speak more the process of co-directing? Like, did you divide the scenes? Did you divide the shot list? Did you talk to the actors? And if there was a conflict or disagreement, how would you resolve it? Who would have the final say, or was everything like nice and dandy?
We'd fight it out. Yeah, like we're like fisticuffs. yeah. Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
I feel like, but I don't know. Like Mayumi has worked in theater, and I've done like sketch comedy, and I feel like in those realms, there's a lot of collaboration. So, I don't know. I felt like this is from obviously my point of view, but I felt like we were kind of on the same wavelength in terms of what we wanted, and I didn't find it. Yeah, we weren't like splitting up scenes or anything. We're like, oh, what do you think, and what do you envision? And we somehow kind of enjoyed the same kinds of things. So it worked out in that way. But for me, Mayumi's directed quite a bit more than I have, and is more technically savvy. And so for me, it was an opportunity to learn a lot. Like, she's really smart and really, really good at setting an amazing tone on set. So for me, it was like, give me some Mayumi juice.
Oh my gosh. I think it was awesome that like the communication with Andrea was so much more open, I think, because like Diana's right there, and like I felt like I was like included in the sisterhood, which was really nice. It was really cool too. And then Susan, who just said hi as well, like it was really awesome to work with her too. There's a scene later on in the short where both of them kind of reaches their peak in this short, and it was like I was talking to Susan and then Andrew was working in Diana, so that was like interesting to kind of go on like both opponents. And then I actually really enjoy co-directing because I've been doing that with Natch, who's the producer as well. We've done co-directing quite a couple times, and it's really I feel like as a director, anyone who gives you like an honest creative input is so valuable. So to have like a bouncing board like that is like right next to you, and you're both making the same. If you're both making the same movie, I think sometimes it might clash if you're not making the same movie, and that was very clear from the very beginning for both of us. So I think that's why it never was like, oh, it was very
And we're just making a movie, so if we can have fun.
It's funny. I really enjoy. I watched it twice, and I really enjoyed it. I wanted to ask, whose idea was it to leave the tag behind the mom's Susan's character's dress? That was brilliant. I love that.
That was in the script.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the script? It wasn't?
No, that was in the script.
Oh, was it? Okay, good.
Yeah, so it wasn't either of us.
Okay, going back to first when you said that you became directors out of necessity, right? Do you feel the film industry has changed in terms of accepting, people of color, women, to be in more leadership roles? Do you feel there has been a change?
I feel like the doors are opening, but the decision-making landscape is still very much the same. So, like I'm personally, and Diana and Andrea too, we all have projects that we're pitching, and the people who we are pitching to and the people who could help us take it to that level are still, they don't look like us. So I think there's a lot of work that we still need to do. We're just at the very beginning of this. So, and I think it's great that people, hopefully someone watches this as well and they'll think that, okay, well, maybe I should direct it, because there needs to be more directors. And I think I just read a report from DGC that Koreans and Japanese in BC are in the DGC realm. It's like 3% of their membership, both the ethnicities, which is the lowest out of all the BIPOC. All the BIPOC categories, or whatever you would call it. So there's a lot of work to do, I think, still, but it is great that doors are opening.
Yeah. Diana, I agree with Mayumi. I don't know if I have more to say. I think I agree.
Cool.
Yeah, the people at the very top are still not people who look like us and who are willing to, or not always willing to give people like us chances.
So this movie deals with the loss of someone, and someone who has abandoned, obviously. The father has abandoned her when she was young, and then he is passing, and she's angry with him. Did you personally have someone who you were close to, who you might have thought, I wish I had reached out more, I wish, and that person's no longer, on this planet or on this earth?
I mean, I feel like there are lots of people, and it's not just like people who have died, but people that I don't talk to anymore for some reason. It's just like that loss. Like one of my problems is that I can't let go of things that easily. So always, a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I wish I did this, or I wish I said that to that person. So I'm just that kind of a person. So there's a lot of that for sure. For me, at least, I'd like to be able to be like, screw you, forget. I don't remember you. I don't care. Blah. But it's not like that. So there are lots of things, and and even just simple things too, like the things that if someone passes, it's like, I wish I said I love you more, or I gave them a hug, or stuff like that. Yeah. How about you, Mayumi?
I think the beauty of the script is that there is that universal story that is like, what do you do, and how do you forgive yourself, or how do you move on, or like there's a lot of very universal themes there. But I think, and that is, I think, what attracted me to this script too. The question of like whether I have anyone like that, like constantly. I think, kind of similar to Diana. Well, actually, I think Diana would agree, but I have a way stronger desire to like connect than normal people. I think artists in general, I think, have that like desire to express themselves, but also like just make connection with people. So even if they haven't left Earth, I always think, even on my way home from a coffee with someone, I think about that. Like, did I say?
Or if you look through photos.
Yeah.
You look through photos and you're like, oh yeah, that person. What happened to that person? Oh.
Every Facebook, Instagram memory reminder, I will be like, oh my gosh,
that person was so special. I want to know. Yeah.
Has this whole pandemic, obviously, has it made you reflect on a lot of things in life, for example? Because that's what the movie kind of made me feel when I watched In Loving Memory. I'm like, there's humorous moments, and I feel, but then the one message I took from the movie is like, oh yeah, I wish I had reached out to this person. You don't know what that person is going through, or whether the person's alive or not. Has this whole pandemic made you reflect a lot on your life decisions, and if you want to share, of course, what are they?
I think if I can just jump in, but I've really learned to enjoy to take my time, especially because sometimes I think I would get restless if I'm not doing enough, or I'm not meeting this expectation, or because I think all of us, we're all very driven, and we're at our time in our career that like, oh, we want to get this done, and we're desperately catching up to ourselves almost. And I felt like that pressure was sort of offloaded a little bit earlier I feel like it's back on. So like since end of August, I feels like, because everything is sort of starting back up again. But I've learned the value of that for sure. And then realizing, like, catching myself that like, oh, okay, like and also realizing how whatever is going on behind closed doors, we all have no idea. So I think right now I think it's valuable. It's important to be extra kind and checking in with people, because we really have no idea what's going on, whether that's health-wise, financially, all these things. So, yeah.
Final thoughts, Diana?
I guess in terms of the pandemic, of what I've learned about what I was reminded by is how much I need nature, and how much I need to go for walks in the forest, and how that grounds me. And so I did a lot of that in the summer, and I'm still doing that on like today was a super nice day. So
beautiful.
Yeah, just meditating on that, and just taking it in and soaking it in, and being happy in that present, or not happy, but just being present in the moment.
Cool.
So that's yeah.
No, sorry. Okay.
No, that's all.
Thank you, Mayumi. Thank you, Diana. We're glad to have you. For the viewers, we do have a Filmmakers Q&A at 6 o'clock, so please do stay for the second Filmmaker. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, folks, our second filmmaker is Krista Jang. She's the actor, writer, director, producer of Sears Leaves. And with us is also Russell, correct?
Russell
Russell
Yun, he's
Yeah.
the lead actor in
So
there.
Russell plays the on-screen dad of Krista. Thank you for joining us, Krista and Russell.
Hey.
I would say one of the things I enjoyed the most about this film was the chemistry between you two. It was hilarious. So my first question is, did you guys know each other from before, or did you rehearse? Did you cast, or how was that process like, working with together and building that rapport?
I found him off the street. No, no, I met Russell when I first moved to Toronto, and he was just like one of the top older Asian actors in the biz. And basically, when Asian actors see each other, and especially when they're new, you're like, hey, you, how's it going? So we just like naturally started talking and became friends through that. And yeah, I basically kind of wrote this with Russell in mind.
Oh, okay. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I feel sorry for her. Krista and I, we met a few times at auditions, and it was pretty evident already that the common understanding and the chemistry was there already. So when she offered a role to me in this short film of hers, I jumped at the opportunity because I knew I was going to have fun, because she's fun to be around and work with.
Lies.
Yeah, you owe me $10 for that. Just...
Oh, that's a deal.
So Krista, you basically ran this movie. You like wrote, direct, produced, lead was the lead as well. My question is, when I watched it, I thought I really enjoyed your performance. But when you were making it, did you feel you were spread too thin, or did you enjoy the challenge, or?
I've done it before, kind of out of necessity of like, I'm writing it because I want to write something for myself. I want to do something because as an actor, you only have so much power. So it's really kind of like self-serving. But then so I was getting familiar with that switch of being an actor and director. And there was some times where, because we shot in a live location in a real grocery store on a weekend, not recommended. But it was kind of stressful because we were dealing with like real elements. But I also like had a little rehearsal with Russell and Eileen, who's also in the film as well. Eileen Lee, what's up? So and all the people on the crew were like my friends, so I had to make sure to point out to them, and they were totally understanding and supportive too, that like I will need time to like watch playback, try to shift gears, and like just take a bit longer than you would maybe as a sole director, so that I can kind of like see myself shift, think about how it felt between Russell and I as an actor, but then also as a director, what do I want? So I don't know how that was for Russell.
She did much better than I would ever. I've done this a couple of times, and
sorry, done what? The old everything, writing.
No, well, not the whole everything. I'm not as courageous as her writing the stuff, but I've directed and acted in films before, and she was much better at it than I was, because I don't know how she was able to do it. She would be able to switch gears so fast. We'd do a scene, she'd run, look at video playback, come back with notes, pop back in character, do it again, and then run back to Video Village. I was just like, and there I was, like, as soon as she said cut, I'd be there standing, and she's gone into the director mode, and I couldn't do that. When I was doing it, I was like, okay, cut, and then I'd go over to my assistant director and say, hey, so how was that? You know, but Krista was everything. So yeah, huge props to her.
Fantastic. Russell and Krista, why did you decide to pursue acting? from the
I don't
where
know. Russell, you go. I don't know.
My relatives in Vancouver right now are still right now. If they're watching this, they're going, "I thought he was a doctor." I dropped out of my future was supposed to be a doctor in medicine, and my brother is to blame for all this because when I was growing up, he was doing a lot of amateur musical theater, and then he did musical theater, and he was doing the Pointer Sisters and the Andrews Sisters, and I was that little usher walking up and down the aisles, and I kept looking at the stage thinking, I'd love to do that one day. So when I was, I took drama as a stupid course during my medical career, and that was my my downfall, I guess. After that, I loved it and dropped out of all the medical stuff.
Well, I'm glad you pursued acting because I enjoyed both of your performances. It was hilarious.
Oh no, I owe you $10 too now. No.
Yep, no, 15. So this film deals with well, both. I need to just double check. Both of you were born in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this film deals with second generation identity. I think, Krista, I read your film Freeway, and you said that a lot of times when they want to make movies of people of color, they usually focus on the immigrants, the newer immigrants that come, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess growing up being Canadian, but Asian Canadians, do you find that representation in the film industry has evolved, has changed for the better?
I think it's always evolving and for the better for the most part. It's slow sometimes. It's eventual, and like Mayumi and Diana was saying earlier, like things are changing, but not everything has changed. So it's all like a work in progress. It's not where the ideal situation of like people who are making the decisions and all that stuff. So yeah, there's still a lot of work in terms of representation in the industry.
Russell, any thoughts?
I totally agree with her. Yes, it's moved forward because, you know, I've been doing this for 35 years. And when I started, there were no speaking roles for Asian guys. That's why for the first 8 years of my career, I was doing martial art movies and stuntmen stuff. It's changing, but it's changing at such a glacier pace that I'm kind of worried if I'll be around still when the change finally happens. But it's projects like Krista's that really show the other side, because, you know, a lot of the stuff we see from Hollywood is the immigrant story, and I've just never seen my story on screen before, where it's exactly that. I wasn't allowed to speak Chinese growing up. You know, we were my parents spoke Chinese, but we were told only to speak French and English. And I've lost all that side of my heritage, and it's a big thing for a lot of people of my generation. I'm third, fourth generation, and I want to see my story on screen. And a lot of people my age also are in the exact same boat. We just don't, you know, we don't want to. Movies about the Great Wall of China are magnificent, but I want to see my story too.
If you can be cast in an ideal role, acting role, right? Any role you want, what would it be?
Krista?
I don't know. I just want any work at this point.
That's a great Canadian answer. I think all Canadian actors are always just, you know, hey, if I'm working, I'm happy.
Yeah, like the whole point of acting kind of is that you get to play and you go from one thing to another. So you can be the villain in one thing in a comedy, and then you can be the dramatic lead in something else. Like the fact that you go from thing to thing to thing, and you're not just linear in the types of roles that you're doing, is ideally what you want. I currently I'm leaning towards comedy, so I enjoy comedy a lot. But it's not to say that if some epic drama came along, I'd be like, no, thank you. Like,
I only do comedy. Thank you.
Yes.
For me, it would be a full circle thing. Growing up, the only Asian people I ever saw on TV was Robert Ito from Quincy. You're way too young for that. And Sulu from Star Trek. So for me, it would be a full circle thing. And it would be to be on Star Trek because that was the only time I saw somebody who looked like me on TV. You know, back then that was it. You know, Robert Ito and Sulu. And Bruce Lee, of course, but you know.
Oh, that guy. I heard of him. That guy. He's done some stuff.
I'm curious from a production point of view, how did you get that grocery store? Because I was like,
I know, right?
I was like, whoa, that's actual grocery store. I was like, how did they get it?
Because when you're doing indie film, you do not have a budget for that. And when I wrote this, I was like, it's all about the experience of going to a Chinese grocery store where it's like, you can't just like make that up and like put a couple shelves and throw in some like vegetables or something like that. Like when you go into the seafood department, you are going to like smell it because you know that fresh seafood smell. That is real. That's actually a good story. One of our actors, Francis Zhang, I met him at the actor conference here in Toronto, and he had come up to me and said, oh yeah, I love the idea of your script and all that stuff. If you need any help, I work with Chinese businesses and stuff. So when I decided to pursue production and basically just self-fund and not go the grant route, I hit him up and he was like, sure, let me just like reach out to some contacts. And then I just get an email one day being like, so this grocery store said that you can shoot. So let me know when.
Whoa.
And I was like, I'm sorry, that's it? Like,
That's
do they want anything? Do they know that we have no money?
Yeah.
The condition was just that we had to shoot during store hours. Because obviously we can't shut it down because someone would have to stay there and all that stuff. So I'm like, well, it's either we do that or like we fake it, which that's not even an option. So that's how we got the store.
Filming during opening hours put a whole new spin on that film. It was a very interesting experience, actually.
Yes, it was. We have lots of stories.
Yeah, please do tell one of them. We still have time. Any story you want to share about filming?
I think in the seafood department,
yes.
when people see like a camera and like, you know, some of our crew around and like the boom op, they're not sure what's going on, or everyone thought someone famous was here, and we're like, no, guys, there's no one here.
No, it's just us.
Maybe Russell.
No.
But
maybe
everyone kind of cleared that area. And we're like, no one's coming in, like, because we couldn't get their faces in there, because they're not allowed to be in the film. And so we're like, it's cleared out. What's going on? And we see just like lines of people just like staring from afar, like not entering in the department in the space. And we're like, okay, I guess we should just shoot again. Like we had like an audience watching us. And that was a random story of our shoot.
We have like maybe 1 minute, 30 seconds. Anything else you folks want to add about your film, about anything?
I think Russell kind of had mentioned it before, where it's just, you know, our story in terms of we're the second, third, fourth generation. That's just fills out the diversity of stories that like Asian stories can have. It's not always just about one perspective, or not everyone's an immigrant, because a lot of people still think that, oh, when did you come here? And it's like, I was born here. My parents were born here. My family's been in Canada for a while.
Yeah, but where are you from?
And I say Vancouver, BC.
And how did you learn how to speak English so well?
American TV.
Yeah. I totally get that.
So well, I think that's important.
Sorry, would you want to say something?
Oh no, I'm just saying that that's important to just like everyone should tell their story, because we have all different perspectives, and that's important.
Well, thank you, Krista and Russell, for joining us. You can watch their movie, Serious Leads, which is a lighthearted comedy. Thank you very much. And join us for Q&A later.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And next up, we have Theo Kim, the director of And Now This. Theo Kim won the Best Director at NYC Indie Film Award. He's also the co-producer of Beyond Redemption, which is on Netflix. And the second feature he co-produced, Woodland, has been nominated for several Leo Awards. Welcome, Theo. How's it going?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I like your hair.
Oh, yeah. It was in a man bun for a long time. Most people have seen me in that, but I have a midlife crisis, so I went blonde, pink, back to blonde. Shit. Yeah. So.
Wow. My first question about your film. So it's pretty heavy. Pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Film.
Yeah.
So let's get right to Oh, if you want to say something.
No. The writer, exec producer, Brenda Whitehall wrote the script based on some people in her lives that have passed from cancer and who at the time was fighting cancer. And she sent me the script, and I was really flattered that she asked me to direct it. And at the time, as soon as I read it, you know, it was kind of surreal because my best friend was fighting stage 4 cancer. So for me, I just thought, yeah, I'm going to do this just because it was a personal thing for me to make this. Normally I do kind of comedy that I direct. So I wanted to, you know, when I read the script, I go, this is pretty heavy. And, but I felt I could do it. And, but yeah, so it was a personal thing. But yeah, you're right. It's not, it's a very serious topic. But you know, the way that Brenda wrote it made at the end kind of it was heavy, but the end was a lot of it was a kind of a happy ending, you know. So
yeah. My first question is about the sketches, the pencil sketch, right? At the beginning, especially before we're showing the mother. I love that. Was that your idea, or was it? I know there was an animator, right?
Yeah, I can't remember like what, you know, I think with my co-producer Phil Planta and Brenda, I think we talked about, you know, this is normally when we think of doing a short film and trying to get into film festivals, we don't, hey, keep it 10 pages, keep it 15 pages, because, you know, these festivals pre-COVID were like, you know, it's got to be 10 or 15 minutes. And when this was, you know, we're at 22 pages, we're thinking it's 22 minutes, we thought, how can we bring this down? But, you know, Brenda felt, and I agree with her, that, man, these scenes, a lot of these scenes, it's hard to cut it. And it would kind of affect the impact of the film. But I thought, you know, there's a lot of these scenes, especially in the bedroom when the mother's talking about where the daughters came from. I thought, you know, what would be kind of interesting if we were to break it up for the viewer, to have something animated or something visual to, you know, and that's where it started. We kind of brainstormed, and Brenda found a great animator, Kayla Godet, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. Which she's who works for Atomic Cartoons, which is a big animation house in Vancouver, and she read the script and she was on board right away. So yeah, so that was it. I think for me, it was just, you know, I think we have something heavy and you have great actors, they can really bring it. But I thought, you know, the animation would be kind of cool because she's talking about these fantasy worlds, and I thought, man, just let's pop these scenes with some animation. So yeah.
Yeah, like you were talking about great actors. So when I was watching the film, at some point I started thinking about my own mother. Like tears were actually dropping in my eyes. I was like, damn, like, you know?
Yeah.
What was the rehearsal process? Like, was there because the relationship between the two daughters and mother was like so real. I was curious.
Yeah, you know,
can you talk about the rehearsal and casting? Like, was there?
Yeah, very good question, and happy you brought it up. Normally, I'm always, you know, whenever I'm doing any directing, I want to cast and find the best actor available that could do the role. Brenda, when she wrote it, before she talked to me, she already had actors she worked with in mind that could play these roles. And when we met, she said, "Hey, I think Kira could play one of the daughters. Sarah Dawn Pledge could play one of the daughters. And I've worked with Sarah before. I've seen Kira's work before. And then the mother, Margaret Nyfors, she said, I think she'd be great. Now, Margaret, from my understanding, is an improv stand-up comedian and has done any drama. So I had to really trust Brenda. And, since Brenda trusted me, I said, okay, let's try it out. We did a table read. First table read. The girls are crying. Like, I was like,
damn.
Do a table read. Let's just go, let's just go over the lines. Don't go full 100%. And then you're reading it. All of a sudden, I'm not even looking at my script. And I'm watching them. They're not even moving. They're sitting on a couch, but they're talking. And you're like, whoa, this is like as if you were in the room, a fly on the wall, watching a real mother and two daughters. And I right away off the bat, I was like, whoa. I was like, Brenda, you nailed it. We don't even have to cast. They were perfect. And it was, and when we were shooting the bedroom scene, when the mother was about to take the lethal injection, and Kira's, you just even talking about it, I get all kind of, I'm not saying all tingly here. She just, and I would just, I was just like, okay, well, now I know, the first take they did this, do a second, I don't want to exhaust my actors because they already brought it the first take, and I'm just like, okay, we got it. This was, you couldn't make that scene any more dramatic and intense. So, and as you said, you watched it, and that's the thing, you think about your loved ones, and and when what I want, people watch this is to think like, everyone dies. We don't know when we're going to go, and it could be immediately in a car accident, or it could be from a terminal illness. And the thing is, you gotta, not take anything for granted. And the people that you love, tell them you love them. Because if they go and you didn't tell them that, you're going to live with some regret, I think, for the rest of your life. And that's the thing. Live in the moment. You gotta really take everybody not for granted and really be there. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, man, for sure. Now, when I looked at your IMDb credits, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you started off as a producer and then you began directing after, or was it the other way around?
I kind of, I was doing a lot of sort of directing actually at first, a lot of YouTube stuff, a lot of those comedy sketches, because that's kind of the direction I was trying to do, like comedy or dark comedy. And then the producing sort of came where people started asking, hey, can you help me with these projects? And so I was kind of doing a bit of both. It was usually either directing, producing, or co-producing, or first ADing. But yeah, so I kind of will come in and take some responsibility off, because producing is a big endeavor to do, especially do it yourself. So if someone asks me and it's a project that makes sense, I'll come and definitely help. But I think initially out of film school, I was doing more directing.
And was there a particular reason why you decided, okay, I'm going to pursue filmmaking?
Oh man, that's well, I was late to the game. I when I finished high school, I went straight to UBC and got my Bachelor of Commerce. And that was, man, I'm old. So that was 1995 when I graduated.
You don't look old, man. You don't look old.
No, it's the Asians don't raisin. That was that what Phil Planta would tell me. But and I've always loved cinema. I loved movies. But in me at that age, it was all on film. There was no digital. There's no technology to allow. There's indie films didn't happen when I finished. And so for me, I was like, well, I want to be a business person and not, I didn't want to go in the union and be like first AC or anything. That wasn't what I wanted to do. But as I started to see all these indie films, I was like, whoa. And I did my research. Oh, this film was done for 60 grand. This was 100. This is 400. These are now budgets that are still a lot of money, but something that, if you reach out, you can kind of raise the funds. And then now you could make an amazing indie film and shoot it on a digital camera. So that's what kind of got me looking at film school. And then I went to an open house at the VFS in 2000. At the time, the tuition's 20 grand for a year. And I was like, what? Because my whole 4 years of UBC, from 91 to 95 cost me maybe 10 grand. I got a degree and then 1 year for 20, and there's no jobs. Like, you had to volunteer and work for free in the beginning. But fast forward to 2010, tuition's 35,000. I just said, you know what, I'm going to go to film school, because my goal was at the time is I want to write, direct, produce a feature film, and so that's why I went, and I love it, and it's great.
Nice. Going back to what you said earlier about living with no regrets, and especially this movie is about, someone choosing to leave this body by their own choice. And you talked a bit about how it was inspired by the writer's personal story, but have you personally, Theo Kim, known anyone who was in that situation as the mother, where they chose to, leave?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, my best friend at the time. So when Brenda gave me the opportunity to direct this, because my friend was fighting stage 4 cancer, I was like, I'm going to do this. I just wanted to make this film dedicated to my friend Carlo. We shot this in March 2019. He passed December 2018. And what was so surreal is when I read the script, I didn't know anything about the medical assistance in dying in Canada. I didn't know anything about it. And when I was at the palliative care with Carlo, I wasn't in the room when when they talked about it, but I was in the room when the nurses came in, and he said, I want to sign it. And I see him sign it, and they were telling me, and because of the film, I already was educated a bit, and that there's a 10-day grace period. So once you sign it, you have to wait 10 days. And then at the 10th day or 11th day, you can give him the green light to take your life. And I see him sign that thing. And I was just like, this is so surreal again, because I'm going to be directing this film, and now I'm in the room with his parents, his brother, and one of our friends, and we're bawling our eyes out, and we're just like, and so that's the only time I experienced it. Now my grandmother and my father both passed away, and then they were in palliative care, but they were not in pain. Whereas you're watching your friend losing all this weight, and he's the morphine and the fentanyl wasn't even strong enough. So he just said, you know what, I can't handle this. And he wanted to die with dignity. And that's the thing. I think, we're all going to go, and we, some people don't know when that's going to happen. And some people have the opportunity to choose, and there's nothing wrong with, people that love you want you to live forever. But at the same time, if you're suffering and the pain is excruciating, and what's more chemo, and is that how you want to live in pain? So I people that do that, they're very brave, and I think So I want people watch this film. I want them to be educated about the medical assistant dying, and also that. To respect, people you love, this is how they want to go. You have to respect their decisions, especially when they're living in immense pain. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. So we got 2 minutes left. Any final thoughts? Any future projects or anything else you can share about your film?
Yeah, there is another short film that Brenda Whitehall Productions is co-producing, and another written by a female, true story based in Ireland, about a mother or a girl who falls in love with a gentleman who's co-parenting, and there's a custody battle with the daughter with an alcoholic mother. So the script is a pretty cool script. We hopefully we'll shoot it, do a bit of crowdfunding, and shoot this next maybe March. That is my next project. I have a feature film written, but with what's happening with the marketplace with indie film, it's to shoot something. Shooting a feature to be just a little too risky for investors for me. So I'm hoping maybe that Jerome or Lawrence call me up and say, hey, because they got telephone funding for their film, and I'd love to work on their projects. But personally, other than the short film right now, that's all I have.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Theo. We will have Filmmakers Q&A with the audience at 6 o'clock. And you can catch his film Now This at VAFF On Demand. Thank you, Theo.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Next up, we have the director and lead actress for the movie Songbird. We have Heather Hawthorne Doyle and Sarah Sur. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Now, Heather has an amazing list of IMDb credits. I'm just going to name a few. She's a Canadian Screen Award nominee in 2017, a winner of Leo Awards for Best Direction and Author in Children's Programming in 2020. Welcome, Heather and Sarah.
Hello. We have our co-star, Ryan Jin, as well.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello.
Hey. How you folks doing?
Good. How are you?
Nice. Good. So, Songbird. Okay. It's also another heavy movie, Miscarriage. First, Heather, for you. I know the title Songbird what I saw in the film was when Sarah's character is dreaming and then she sees the little girl singing. But how did you come up with that title?
This is really Sarah's film. And so Sarah wrote the film, produced
okay.
and starred in the film. And then I was lucky enough to direct it. So let's start with the question about Songbird, and I'll throw it to Sarah to answer.
Yeah. So Songbird, it's loosely based on the story of my husband and my first miscarriage, actually. So when we were pregnant for the first time, I don't know. I think it's just one of those mother instinct things, just like, you know, when I was pregnant with my son, I knew it was a boy. I just, in my gut, I just felt like she was some type of a songbird. And, you know, we were calling her Songbird the whole time. So when I wrote the film, to me, it was a no-brainer to call it Songbird. But in all honesty, it was also a way of honoring her, just kind of honoring her memory as well. And, you know, I think Songbird is a good name where it really captures people's attention as well.
And Heather, why did you decide to direct this film? Or
I was looking for a film that was something that could be told visually, could be less of a talkie and something that could be told with emotion and pictures. And I came across Sarah's script, and it's a very personal story, but it's also a very universal story. And the more you talk about miscarriage, the more you find people that have had a miscarriage. And we started working on this film almost 2 years ago, and it really wasn't talked about then. Now with Chrissy Teigen and John Legend having a miscarriage and others sort of more publicizing it, it's good for people to know that this is a heart-wrenching thing that happens, but it is something that happens very often. And so when I read this script and saw that it was mostly descriptors and hardly any dialogue, then I met with Sarah, found out that it was a very personal and real film to her. I've had experience with a very best friend of mine who had 4 kids and had a miscarriage between baby 3 and baby 4. And she'd never told anybody but me that she had a miscarriage. It was so not spoken about that I really felt like this was a story I wanted to help tell.
Can you speak more, since Sarah, you wrote this, and speak more about the, I guess, rehearsal, or was there rehearsals? And what was, because I felt your on-screen husband and you were really tight, you know? And did you guys know each other from before, or was there an audition process?
Right.
Yeah, please jump in. Any one of you, please.
Yeah, no, definitely. Ryan, we had worked on a commercial for the Seoul Olympics, and that's how we met. And when I had wrote Songbird, I didn't really actually have anybody in mind, except for the fact that the character's name was Ryan. So when I met Ryan, you know,
right.
Yeah, exactly. When I met with Ryan, we were just casually talking about the film, and I had told him, you know, one day when I do this, I would love for you to, you know, try for the lead of Ryan. And I just knew that we had really good chemistry from when we worked on the commercial together. And we definitely did do a couple of rehearsals. And not only that, I think talking about it with Ryan really helped him understand my journey. And he's really good at delving into somebody's story and understanding what a person had gone through. So I feel like there was that connection that was made before we were shooting. But we definitely did do a read through and a rehearsal with Heather. We went through the whole script, and we did our actors' work. We did the story. We basically we rehearsed the whole thing. I think Ryan can talk a little bit more about the rehearsal process as well.
Yeah, I mean, as has been mentioned a couple times already, this is such a personal story. This is something that not only Sarah, but so many other people have gone through, and to be someone who myself hasn't experienced that at all, but just being able to hear stories and understand it and really dig into, like Heather said, the universal aspect of it, and trying to play this one personal story, but extrapolating that across countless others. And yeah, the rehearsal process was, I think, mainly targeted at getting us all on the same page with that. But yeah, at the end of the day, the story drove us through. I mean, there were so many times in the scenes, and like we were saying before, there's not a whole lot of dialogue, so you kind of just sit back and let the story affect you, and that's simultaneously the easiest and hardest acting you'll do.
Yeah.
So I think it was just get out of the way of the story, help it in any way you can, and the results will speak for themselves.
And of course, there were scenes that we didn't rehearse. There were the scenes of the actual miscarriage itself and some of the other things that we were, even when we went to shoot it, we talked very specifically about roughly where people would stand and where they would go and things like that. But we wouldn't, like, we had, the very special prop that was Songbird, and we made, really made some tough decisions about when to show that prop to Sarah and when to, bring her into the room and give Sarah a chance to sort of process it as a person and then be able to act it as a trained actress. Yeah. And that's when I think that her and Ryan also had another level of connection, because he took it upon himself to be there for her for whatever she needed, to be that strong male figure, but not overpower, but just support.
Yeah, that whole process, it was obviously very triggering for me to see.
Yeah, I was curious about that.
But I think what it did for Ryan and I is he actually grieved with me. So when I saw that, I grieved, and that's kind of the whole purpose of the film, is just to tell you can grieve and grieve at any time, and it's okay. So I grieved a little bit. Actually, I grieved a lot when I saw that, and Ryan was right there beside me. He wasn't just comforting me. I can tell he was grieving with me. And I think that really translated into the film.
Nice. So now I want to ask each of you, it's a bit more personal, this question. When and why did you decide to pursue, like Heather for you is directing, Sarah and Ryan for you is acting. When and why did you decide to pursue this particular field?
I mean, I think I'm a born director. I acted when I was a little kid in school plays and stuff like that. And then when we came out here to Vancouver for high school, all the parts were taken. And so the drama teacher was like, do you want to be an assistant director and help the director that's coming from UBC? And I'm like, sure, I guess so. And then I fell in love with directing from that moment and knew I was going to be a director and just didn't know if it was going to be TV, film, or theater. But I knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life, and ended up going to BCIT and taking a night school course that really got you into the day school course, which was a television production course, which was very much multi-camera. So I started my career in multi-camera television directing. So did talk shows and variety shows and the Olympics and all that kind of stuff. And then got into single camera lifestyle factual reality, which I think still helps me to this day, because if you can direct real people, directing actors is awesome. You want to do what you want.
Especially actors like these two, amazing actors.
Especially actors like these two who can take a suggestion and run with it in an incredible way, or give you a suggestion that helps make something really great. And then for me, so it's only been the past few years that I've gotten into scripted narrative directing, and now this is what I do full time for a living, and I love it.
And Sarah and Ryan?
I think for myself, the answer is twofold. I think one, the story in it of itself is a message that I really wanted to get out there. I think I had done some research beforehand to see if there was any media coverage, short films, feature films, anything that covered the topic of miscarriage. And I did find a couple of short films, but they were great. I actually really loved them, but they were very low budget, and I really wanted to honor this topic. So I wanted to make it as excellent as possible. So that's one aspect of it. And the second part is I really wanted to have an all Asian cast where the story had nothing to do with the fact that we're Asian, that we just have everyday stories just like everybody else. And hey, when you watch it, it doesn't feel weird. It's just like real life, So I think for me, and the timing of it was, there's no time like the present. Yeah.
And Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, acting came around for me later in life. I think similar to, I think it was Russell who was saying he was going to be a doctor. I went to medical school myself, and that was the path for me. But mainly because, it's the same old story. Like, as a young Asian kid growing up, it was never like, hey, yeah, you want to be an actor? Go do that. Never something on the table. So I thought, okay, great. What can I do? And I thought med school. But for me, casual, So, but I'd always wanted to be an actor when I was a kid. I actually found a school worksheet from when I was super young saying that I wanted to be an actor. Yeah, I know. And I had no idea that I wrote that back then. I put it out of my head for so long. But I came back around to it because I was at this point in my life where I just needed to do what I wanted to do and what fulfilled me. And, it's stories like this, like that are the ones that you want to tell as a storyteller. And I know it sounds cheesy, but, I got into this because I want to change the world in some way.
Yeah. I agree.
Whether it's on a smaller scale with, it's a story that only a handful of people will see, or whether it's a big thing that changes a lot of minds and a lot of lives. I think that's the reason why a lot of us get into these creative fields, and to be blessed with such amazing stories that, like we've been saying this whole time, need to be told. Need to speak about it. It sparked this conversation with my mother, who had a miscarriage as well. And, we had never talked about it, but through this, we, opened that conversation up. And I think the more we do that, the fewer shadows there will be in the corners of our worlds, and overall we'll all be better for it. So it's a noble pursuit that I know I am, and everybody else here is very, very grateful to be a part of.
Nice. So we got 2 minutes left. Any final thoughts you want to share about the film, about future projects, or anything like that?
I want to say one thing about the great crew that we had on this too. It's like, so Sarah and I met, and she was like, yes, I want you to direct this story. And I never once looked at it as, it's an Asian story that needs to be told. No, it's great that it's an Asian story. It's fantastic. Let's honor that. But it's also a universal story. And then I put out a call I was looking for a DP who had a really visual sense, because to me, it's a very visual story. And Brandon Lee was one of the people that I met with, and him and I clicked right away. He's a young Asian filmmaker, a phenomenal cinematographer, and he also works as a grip and does YouTube videos and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, meant to have Brandon do this story. And then the crew he brought along, like Sammy Sue, and like so many additional Asian filmmakers that I've now worked with in a professional sense on some of the other shows that I do. It's been a great community to help tell these stories with the community. So shout out to Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
Yeah, it's always good to give props to the crew, because sometimes the crew don't get, as much credit as like the director, the lead. But yeah, I think we're out of time. But now we're gonna start the Filmmakers Q&A with the audience, live audience. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Heather. I'll see you in about like 30 seconds, I guess.
Okay.
Long time no see. All right, folks watching, we shall have a Filmmakers Q&A right now. All the filmmakers will be joining us again, and you can send us your questions. The tech guy, who's Jonathan, who's pretty awesome, he will direct it to us, and we will ask, and let's do this. Oh, hey, folks. Oh, so many people. All right, and filmmakers, you can ask each other questions as well if you want to ask each other questions. Okay, I'll start with the first question. I'll start with the first question for all of you. Since all of you are pretty, in my eyes, pretty successful. Do you feel that you are successful? What's your definition of success? Anyone can jump in and start.
For me, my biggest thing of success is I just want to have a moment where I'm not begging for work all the time. You know what I'm saying? As I just like to be able to choose the work I do. That's my idea of success.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about like having a definition of success, but I have like an idea of what I want to do. And which I guess could mean success is that I want to be in a creatively collaborating with my friends. I just want to make cool stuff with my friends. That's all I want to do.
With that hat.
With this hat, that means success to me.
No, that's cool.
With this hat. Oh, things are good.
Nice, thank you, Dan.
That's not your hat. That's your real hair. You didn't.
She knows.
That's funny. Anyone else, please?
I think part of it is just doing what I want to do and love to do, and not having to go find like a secondary job or income that's not related to it. Like I just want everything that I am doing that's work related is creating, whether it's like working with friends, creating things, or like acting on some TV show or any of that, just as a whole.
You know, it sounds like everyone's sort of saying the same thing, and obviously you have a panel from a film festival where everyone is going out and making their own thing, but I've said exactly the same thing for a long time. I just want someone to give me a bunch of money to make whatever I want with all of my friends, and I don't know why that's such a hard thing.
Show me the money!
Yeah, like everyone just wants to make their stories, right? And you know, you have such a great collection of people here who have gone out and done that, but as such, we all know how difficult that is. But I think we all want to be successful in the sense that, we just want to keep telling these stories and keep pushing, change in the industry as well. And, like Mayumi was saying in her interview earlier, like let's be real, there isn't enough representation. We're getting there. We're, baby steps. And at a certain point, good enough isn't a good enough bar. It's like, well, better than nothing, but that's not the bar we are set. So eventually, through people like the panel here, we'll eventually get there. But I think we all want to be successful in that way.
And I'm trying to be at the level where I'm trying to celebrate the successes when they come, so that I'm not always feeling like I'm searching for the next thing, even though quite often I'm searching for the next one. What's better? What's bigger? So yay for where I'm at. But I think I want to be creatively challenged. I like being scared. I want to do everything that I've not done before. So I'm dying to direct a murder mystery that's got suspense in it, and I want blood. And I also want to tell a story that can change someone's life. I want to tell a story that someone's going to watch and it's going to change who they are as a human being. I was lucky enough early in my career to do a youth documentary series called Make Some Noise that showcased young Canadians who were doing great things for and around the world. And people saw this not a lot, but some people saw this, and it changed some lives. It changed some kids' lives and who they were. And I've never forgotten that feeling. And I want to have that opportunity to tell those kind of stories, which are going to make a difference. In a way, Songbird, for me, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, because I was hoping it would let people speak out about something that wasn't spoken about before. And then, yeah, for sure, I want to do cool things with my friends and maybe new friends that we meet on the cool.
I feel like, oh, am I muted? Oh, I'm good. Okay.
No,
I always love Ava's quote where, like, I think she says, if your dream only involves you, it's too small. So I think when I feel like when I see like, oh, that's successful, or I feel like that's my goal, is like when it expands way bigger than me, like the wave that we are creating just goes maybe passed down to generations and across borders, across the ocean, you know. So I think when we have that kind of impact on a cultural level, then I feel like we as artists has done something valuable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mamie. Theo, you haven't said anything, and Sarah actually also haven't said anything. If you guys don't want it, fine, we can move on to the next question. But I'm curious, actually, what would you say?
You know, success. You know, everyone probably thinks, oh, you know, you're making tons of money, and you know, you're flying first class. But you know, and those things are great. For me, it's just being happy with, just being really happy with where you're at. You know, if you look at the Dalai Lama, they don't have anything materialistic. They don't care, but they're just so happy. And for me, it's, yeah, I'm just right now, life is pretty good considering what's going on around in the world and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you always, you know, I keep rewatching stuff over and over. And Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, I've probably seen 100 times.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that lives, you know, in the moment, and everything is, you know, I mean, of course, we're talking about the GOAT, but you know, you just gotta just always look at the bright side, even if it's a negative thing. And if, I don't know, I just, for some reason, that always stuck with me, even. And yeah, so anyways, success is just you being happy in every part of your life. And again, it doesn't have to be always to do with money and all that stuff. So yeah, that's how I see it.
I think for myself, success for me would be paving the way for the next generation. You know, it's people like Heather, you know, a woman filmmaker who's paving the way for us right now. And, you know, I think about my son, you know, and he sees you on TV once and, you know, he thinks you're famous. So just to know that, you know, you have somebody in the generation under us that if you could make it just a hair bit easier, that's, you know, that's still success. Obviously, we want to aim higher than that. But if I can make this journey, if my son wants to go into it, he doesn't have to become a doctor or a lawyer.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we could make this somewhat easier for him where he doesn't have to fight the battle. Then that's success.
Nice. Next question for all the filmmakers. What is a genre that you have not done before and would like to do?
See, that my problem is I've been in this business for so long, I can't think of one I haven't done yet.
You just done it all.
No, but there is a lot. I think for me, the genre that I'd love to try to do is I don't know how to say it. It's like a murder mystery. I think is something that I have never done and I've always wanted to do, and try to play that red herring all the way through a film has always been one of the challenges I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, you gotta wait for heaven.
Oh yeah, that's right. She wants to do a murder mystery. Yeah.
There you go. Connections. Anyone else?
I was gonna say it's not a genre, but because I grew up watching animation, I would love to do animation, to write or to direct. I voiceover, but it's just so fun. So I'd love to do animation one day.
But you do voiceover, right? Like I saw your
Yeah,
post. You've done a lot of voiceovers.
But to like write and direct, it would be really fun.
Okay,
you know.
I think for myself, if there was a genre where I don't see a lot of representation, is musical theater. If there was a film, my dream role was Catherine Zeta-Jones in Chicago, right?
Oh.
Right? So imagine seeing that with a little bit more representation, because come on, we all know Asians can sing and dance too. Like BTS, Blackpink, come on. We can do it all.
Pink, you are so good.
Let us show you we can do it all. Come on.
Yeah, if I do one more audition for Miss Saigon, no.
Anyone else?
I feel like I'm so early in my filmmaking career. Well, actually, no, both sides of the career, let's be honest, that I am still kind of like figuring out how to do comedy well or do drama well, that all genres are still exciting and new and I want to do them. So that's a very lame blanket answer. But all the above.
But you're right though, because no matter what genre I work in, I'm always trying to be better at it. I don't think you could ever be really good at one thing without I mean, I'm always trying to improve no matter what genre I'm working in.
If I had any talent, I would want to do some kind of dance related thing.
Yeah.
Movement, dance. If I had the talent, but I don't. So
how humble you are.
I can dream.
We had a discussion about like, what would you rather, be a great singer or a great dancer? You don't have to close up on me, guys. Like,
close up on your time.
We're really waiting for your answer.
I'm already seeing a comedy that's got Sarah doing a dancing role because she's actually a dancer.
Yes.
And then Diana is trying to be the dancer and not doing so well. And then we'll have someone else come in and they can be the murder mystery guy.
A dance murder mystery.
I'm loving.
Oh.
Yeah. Or
musical murder mystery. There you go.
Oh.
Black Swan the musical.
Black Swan musical.
I was gonna say, Diana, I've seen your dancing. It's pretty good. The Whistler Film Festival. I remember I saw you rip up the dance floor pretty well. So I think you should do that dance musical film. I was gonna say for me, the genre that I would like to do would be like a horror action thriller.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of like, I'm such a huge fan of the Korean film I Saw the Devil. That when I saw it, I was, Jason Bourne meets like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I thought it was so well done, and I thought, man, I would love to, one day do a film at that kind of production level. So, yeah.
Nice.
I'll be auditioning for you, Theo.
Yeah. Oh, you already got the role. Yeah.
Okay. I think everyone answered. Oh, except Ryan. Ryan, you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, my answer to that for a while has been comedy. I actually haven't done comedy, but I'm actually going to be doing some comedy pretty soon, which I'm pretty excited about. But at the same time, my answer for that, anyone who asks you what your dream role is, and my answer has always been like the lead in a romantic comedy. And that might not have a reputation for having, the hardest acting work you'll ever have to do, but that was always my answer, more so because when was the last time you saw an Asian lead in a romantic comedy? And this is the Vancouver Asian Film Festival, so I'm not going to stop talking about how we need to keep working on representation. I know it sounds like a broken record, but this is the only way we're going to get it.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, to have that on my list of things of something to aspire to as we're talking about changing the landscape of the industry altogether, that's big. And there have been some attempts here and there, and you know, we haven't seen a tremendous amount of success, but lately, you know, you have your Always Be My Maybes and Crazy all these ones that are slowly getting there. But similar to Russell, I too worry that I'm not going to be around to reap the benefits of making this push. But as Sarah said as well, we're working on it for the next generation and generations to come. So yeah, something like that would probably be pretty nice.
Nice, thanks. So we got like 5 minutes left. Any final thoughts, folks? Anything you want to ask each other, maybe, or?
I want to give more shout out if I can to composers and musicians, because for our film, especially because there wasn't a lot of dialogue in our film, really the music made such a huge difference. And so Mario Avira was a fabulous composer, and Sarah's dad also did some work on the main song for us. And so music tells such a great story that yay to all the musicians that help these short films get made.
Thank you, Apogee.
There's actually a question. Being in front of the camera versus behind the camera, what is your preference and why? Oh, it's by Susan.
Yay, Susan!
Hi, Susan.
Nobody's
well, I actually work with Susan kind of in maybe front of the camera, but in a Domino's commercial. So I do some commercial acting. I will tell you, my answer would always be behind the camera, because I'm one of those people that hates seeing my face or hearing my voice. But a lot of the commercial acting, you're not really talking, and the paycheck's pretty good for a 4-hour day. So I you know, that's my incentive. But behind the camera, I just like, you know, the action behind it, you know, and don't get me wrong, if I could act and then was able to be cool with hearing my awkward voice, I would be like, cool, I love to be in front of the camera, but I just like the action behind. So.
Thank you.
I always like to be on the other side when I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
That's always been my problem, right? Just like, oh, this looks like such a fun scene to do. I want to be in this. And like, oh, I'd love to like be a part of like the crew and help. Everything.
Grass is always greener.
Yeah. I think for myself, well, hi, Susan. Nice to see you or read you. I don't know what to say. Am I ever going to complain about being in front of the camera, especially when there's a paycheck? No. But I will have to say there's definitely more power being behind the camera when you're able to write your own stories, when you're able to produce, because that way you're able to hire, you know, with diversity in mind or what have you. So I'd say both, but it'd be better in front of the camera if the roles were, you know, not things that we always just fall into.
Here.
Yes, it depends on the situation, right? Because you know, you have your Japanese soldier #1 SOC doesn't even show up on the camera kind of thing, where it doesn't, you know,
massage parlor, like come on.
But for me, like, I actually on Songbird had a great time, you know, bugging Heather all day long, being like, okay, why are we doing this, and learning kind of that aspect of it. You know, there are times when you're watching a scene of actors and you're like, man, I want to be in there, but yeah, there are certain situations where you get, like Sarah said, a little bit more control, a little bit more creative control. They call us actors meat puppets for a reason. But I mean, yeah, it depends, you know, in different situations. And I think as actors, you learn so much being behind the camera anyway that that it's sort of necessary as your education as an actor to do that also.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with all of you, because I like Theo, I hate seeing myself on camera all the time. And often when you watch something, you're like, why did the director make that choice? But I also hate when I direct and I watch what I directed. I hate seeing what I directed, because I often go, why did I make that choice? So it all depends. I think like a lot of people were saying, it all depends on the role, because there's a lot of times where there's roles that you really can't do anything with, you know, and there are other times where you wish you were the director, where you could make that role or that character much more conducive to reality of today. So I think it does depend. But I do agree with Theo that I hate both watching myself and watching what I've directed. So I lose either way, I guess.
Yeah.
This is so inspiring.
You can stand your own face, then get in front of the camera. If not, stay behind. Is that the?
There you go. That's basically it. Yeah.
At least you guys are honest.
I feel like a lot of people, I love doing both. I love acting and directing and writing. All of them really feeds into each other. Like I learned so much from by acting. I learned so much about directing and writing, and everything vice versa. I feel like a lot of directors and writers should try acting. It's really challenging, and also I mean, on a human level, you learn a lot about not just yourself, but just a lot of things. And then for actors also to like try directing and writing too. And a lot of actors turn to director writers, stop acting, and it's a shame, because it is really fun to direct and write, but then they start to forget the danger of what acting is. And acting is a very dangerous thing, and you have to be vulnerable, and it's a lot of stakes, and you start to get comfortable in the writer-director seat and sort of lose touch of that. So if anyone is, you know, like I think people should try it out at least once, and then if you were that, then like don't stop. I think it only makes you sharper. So that's my thought.
That's a good point.
It's funny that you say that, Mayumi. When I first got started doing scripted directing, I heard that same bit of advice from somebody, and they were like, you know, you really got to see what it's like on the actor side. And I hadn't done it since I was a kid. So I was already in a bunch of improv classes, and I still love performing improv and comedy and all that stuff. But I took a bunch of acting classes, and I did that so that I learned so much by having an acting teacher give me way too many notes. And I don't remember that many notes, that it really changed my directing style, in that I'm trying to be much more careful about not saying too many words, because I'm chatty. So I try not to say too many words, and then I try to just do like what's one or two things that I can say at this moment to try to get something different out of that. And I learned that from taking acting classes and being on the receiving end of that.
And you learn to speak the same language as well.
That's
process. Yeah.
I guess I get a lot out of doing both. So yeah, I'm greedy. So there's no preference. If I can do both, that'd be great. I guess like you look at sort of you know, there are lots of like shows like the Fleabag model where, you know, Phoebe Waller-Bridge wrote it. She didn't direct it. She wrote it. She showran it, was in it. And so I think that's possible for us to like tell our stories and also like be in it if we want to. But so there's no preference. I just want to continue doing a bit of both. Yeah, because one is more heady, I find, and you're carrying you're sort of like thinking about like the whole story and like everyone and the whole like the crew and like what's going on, the whole picture. And then one, it's like it's much more embodied, and it's really about like that. It feels a little bit more like kinetic, and yeah, it's about that exchange of energy like in that scene. So I like being able to experience both.
I feel a dance number coming on, Diana.
Yeah.
We're getting very.
There you go. There you go. Whoa. I can't do
Maybe
that.
we all should just do a dance move, like a wave.
Is that how we close this panel?
Yeah, that's a,
yeah. Let's close
Just
this
do
panel
the
with a dance move.
Is it like this or like this?
Yeah, good question.
We'll do
Let's
the
do
wave.
this.
Diana, you started.
Okay.
How does she?
Wait, are we going down to up or up
Where
or
are we
down?
going?
No method to
Theo's
this.
just
Nah.
sitting
online
at the
forever.
bottom.
Start again.
it's like playing mahjong.
And then we go up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Theo.
Okay.
Woo!
Woo!
We're not following.
I thought it meant
Mayumi's was like half-hearted. Yeah.
All right, folks.
Where is
Thank
it
you.
Nice and wave.
Thank you so much for joining us at Vancouver Asian Film Festival. Really loved all your films. I wish you all great success on all your future projects. Yeah, please do submit again next year. I'm sure I'll see a lot of you somewhere. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Grace, meeting you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And thank you.
Hi, guys.
Nice to meet you all.